bam, 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 bam.
Oh,
Hey, a little better.
There it is.
The Friday Collinsworth slide.
You need
It
to
felt
be a
good.
little bit further over. Your shoulder was still in the screen, but that was really well done.
Okay, thank you. I'll take all the notes I can get. Chat, let me know how I'm doing. Welcome back
It's
to another
very Gen
edition.
Alpha of you, chat.
Yes. Welcome to another edition of The Blue Review. I know, subscribe. Come on. You got me going, Greg. Welcome to another edition of The Blue Review. We are back for a Friday edition. Of course, yesterday's game was an early one and a tough one. So we're going to get into that. They're on their way to St. Louis to, of course, take on another NL Central team. So we'll get into all that, preview the series, talk about the NL West race, which is just getting closer by the day, and a lot more. So we're going to get into a lot of stuff here today on the Blue Review. But before we do, I want to remind everyone, you can see on Greg's dome that the LAX, our friends at Los Angeles International Airport, are our sponsor here at the Blue Review. Of course, they're changing the travel experience, reducing traffic, saving guest time, tons of great stuff. So if you want to learn more, check it out at flylax.com/transforminglax. So Greg, we talked about it before the show. I was just going to send us in and then going on some other work. So it's you two. It's the Greg and Marcus show today. I'm excited to listen. If you guys have any questions in the chat, though, send them my way. I'll try to get them to the guys. So
yeah, throw them up on the screen.
For sure.
Yeah.
I'll
Bye,
do my
Parker.
best.
Yeah, just throw them up. Just throw them up on the screen. I'm going to try and pay attention to the chat too, and we can kind of try and figure it out. So, all right, Marcus. So, 2 games up in the wild card, or 2 games up in the division now over the Diamondbacks. Oh, a slide out for Chris Collinsworth. So from Parker Chris Bell. So 2 up on the Diamondbacks and the Padres, and after a bad game from them. Again, another moment when they took the lead, had a 4-3 lead, and the bullpen could not keep it together. This time it's Daniel Hudson who gives everything up there. I personally thought that they used Michael Kopech too early. The 6th inning seems like the wrong space to use Michael Kopech. But there's also Daniel Hudson, no matter what, it seems like whatever inning he was going to be in was probably going to give it up. I wonder if he was in that closer role because we talk about roles so often, if that would have still been the case, if he was the 9th inning guy opposed to the 8th inning guy. But either way, he gave it up. And near bullpen, someone that has been really, really good, and Daniel Hudson was not so very good yesterday.
I mean, I think you hit on the thing that was top of mind for me, which is at what point, and I think we've asked this before, at what point does Michael Kopech start getting more high leverage innings? At what point does he start to come in the 8th, maybe even get a shot and an audition at that closer role? Because he has been lights out for this team ever since he came over. I was very surprised to see him get used as early as he did yesterday, because he look, Flaherty got off to a rough start, right? That first inning was not great, but after that, he settled in and he shut the Brewers down the rest of the way. It was great to see them kind of scratch out that run and take the lead. At that point, I thought, obviously you're setting up your bullpen. I really felt like this was an opportunity to give Kopech an opportunity in the 8th or 9th inning. Obviously, Dave Roberts didn't feel that way. Daniel Hudson blows up in the 8th, which leaves you with 3 outs to try and make up 2 runs. I think that's a conversation that I was starting to see amongst Dodger fans, other Dodger outlets on Twitter. And I think that's going to be a question at some point that Dave Roberts has to be asked, as you have this bullpen that continues to struggle, as this lead shrinks in the division. Other part of that, and we can get to this too, while we're sort of worried and looking over our shoulder at the teams coming up behind us, it's still important to kind of look forward and realize that they are half a game back of the Phillies for the best record in the National League, like a game and a half back of the Guardians for the best record in the major leagues. So everything is getting compressed right now. So I understand there's panic, but there's also reason to sort of be optimistic.
Yeah, of course there's reason to be optimistic. Again, we're going game by game, and we're feeling it game by game. And so when you lose 2 in a row, when you had been winning 6 in a row, it just is kind of looks at, and you can see the problems that they, in both of those games, they lost later on. They lost with the lead. The bullpen kind of hurt it, or Walker Buehler did. But either way, I kind of don't understand how they use the bullpen just in general. We're talking about Michael Kopech and how he's one of them in big leverage situations. So yesterday they go up 4-3, and that's in the 6th inning. In the bottom of the 6th inning, it was a shutdown inning. So they used Michael Kopech to get 3, 4, 5. It was Mitchell. When I was looking down, I was looking at exactly who he was facing. It was Mitchell, Contreras, Adames, and he got through it. He went 1, 2, 3 against those guys and kind of just settled it all down. That's not how, but then at the end of the game in the 8th inning, you kind of give it up. So is that the best way to use the bullpen, about using the big leverage arms in big leverage situations, which the sixth inning, the bottom of the sixth with 3, 4, 5 coming up is a big leverage situation. I feel like you probably can go somewhere else there.
Yeah, I mean, I think you can get those outs elsewhere in the sixth, and I don't know. I'm sort of with you in that there doesn't necessarily seem to be, at least on the outside, a rhyme or reason to how they're using guys. I'm sure internally there's a thought process to it, and maybe it is. Maybe it's just hey, look, we just took the lead. We want to make sure we get these 3 outs and sort of keep everything calm. And maybe that was sort of the idea of it, but it just doesn't feel like, in the past, you knew you got a lead. If you got to the 6th or 7th inning, you knew it was, pitcher A, pitcher B, and then, Kenley Jansen or Evan Phillips. This year, it hasn't felt like that. It's just sort of kind of, I guess, what the situation calls for. I mean, I guess that's the best way I can kind of describe it, but it doesn't always seem like there's a consistent plan for it. And I don't know if that is impacting sort of the guys in terms of their mind frame. It's different pitching in the 6th inning versus pitching in the 8th or 9th inning. And I don't know if, not having a consistent role is having an impact on these guys, but it's just, it's frustrating, right? I mean, there's still a lot of season left to go. We got like 6 weeks left in this season, but it's just kind of frustrating that here we are, and there doesn't seem to be an actual order of operations in this bullpen.
Yeah. And that's where we kind of have to come to an agreement, and it's whatever the Dodgers want to do. Right. But I've always thought that roles matter. Mm-hmm. And I just feels like the Dodgers want everyone to be a fireman role. All of their biggest arms and their most high leverage arms, they want in that fireman role. Whenever it's 3, 4, 5, they want they want to have the best pitcher to face those guys. Doesn't matter if it's the 6th inning or the 9th inning. And that's where it kind of gets confusing, because as you were saying, and I totally agree, it's a different mindset going into the 8th or the 9th, especially the 9th. Being the guy at the end of the game is very, very different. We saw it consistently with Kenley Jansen when he was the closer. If he came in a tie game, or if he came in the 8th inning, he was a mess, and it would just give it up. It's a different way. When you go out there and you're saving a game, opposed to just trying to keep it tied or from behind, you give runs up because you don't put the same amount of effort in for whatever reason it is. It's a mental thing. I don't think they're doing it on purpose. That's just kind of how it's working out. And I don't know. I prefer roles. And I think they need to go back to that. And I think it needs to start with Michael Kopech going to the 9th inning.
I mean, I'm with you. And I look at it this way too, right? We've spent a lot of time talking about the batting order, where should Mookie Betts go when he comes back, right? Does he go back to the leadoff spot? Does he go back to the number 2 spot? That role within the batting order is important. And you want to put guys in a spot where they're comfortable and going to be productive. I think the exact same thing applies to your pitching staff as well. You want guys in a role where they're comfortable, right? You're going to have a guy that is your middle inning guy. You have your guy who's sort of your innings eater, right? If the starter blows up, you have that guy that can give you 2 or 3 innings out of the bullpen. You don't necessarily have the loogies anymore, right? Because you got to pitch the 3 hitters, but you just have guys that this is about my time that I need to start getting prepared because there's a good chance I'm going to come in now. It sort of almost feels like, it's not pulling names out of a hat, but it doesn't really feel much different than that, right? Like anything can happen at any time. And I just think it's hard for everybody to get their minds right for this. It's important. And look, maybe this starts to settle down. Maybe we start to get to a place where everybody is comfortable in that fireman role, but it just seems like people are having a hard time adjusting.
Yeah, and that's what over and over again it seems to be. Whenever I really truly believe Evan Phillips started to be a different pitcher when he was moved out of the closer and back into the fireman role. They moved him into the 6th inning randomly one game, and ever since then he's been giving it up. If you see him it feels like, I need to go back and look at the actual stats, but it feels like every time they put him in high leverage situations in the 9th later on, he's actually pitched pretty well. So I see that roles just mean I really feel that these pitchers especially need that role. But either way, we are now just 2 up on them, and time is running out, and they're playing very, very well, the Padres and the Diamondbacks, and they're going to have a little bit of an easier schedule. As you pointed out yesterday, the Padres have a pretty easy schedule where we're going to St. Louis. Now, St. Louis has not been good recently, and they haven't really been great this year. They're right. I think they're a game under 500. They've lost, I think, 4 in a row. They've lost something like 6 of their last 10. I don't know. It's been pretty bad for them recently, but They're still St. Louis. You're still going to St. Louis. There are demons in St. Louis for the Dodgers just because that's just how they play there.
Mm-hmm.
How are you feeling about it? I don't even know who the pitcher is yet. Do we know who the pitcher for tonight is? Wroblewski or possibly Bobby Miller, Bobby Miller was scratched from a start yesterday. So it's possible it's Bobby Miller, but I don't know. Apparently he has like an over 8 ERA in his minor league rehab starts, and you want to bring him up here to play a game after you've lost 2 in a row and you're only 2 up. It seems dangerous to me.
It does seem dangerous. I mean, as of right now, Dodgers.com still has it as TBD. So, I mean, we will see. I am cautiously optimistic, right? I mean, I feel like the offense did enough for them to win at least 3 of those 4 games in Milwaukee this past week. One day they were sabotaged by their own defense. Yesterday it was the bullpen that hurt them. But I think they very easily could have come out of there with 3 wins, maybe even 4, depending on the situation. So that at least gives me reason to be optimistic about going into St. Louis against a team that, as you mentioned, has not been playing really good baseball. But yeah, I think, right now we're at the part of the rotation where it really is a toss up what you're going to get from start to start, right?
Yep.
We don't know, right now we talked yesterday or a couple days ago about Buehler and how much he really has left and what his future is with this team. I think we very well could have the same conversation with Bobby Miller and what his role on this team is, certainly for this year. And, we can talk about beyond. Gavin Stone gave them a decent start the other day, but we were wondering whether or not he has hit the rookie wall. So it's at a point where you feel good about Glass now. You feel good about
Flaherty.
Jack Flaherty. Everybody else is sort of you sort of cross your fingers and hope for the best on a start. So I don't know who's going to get the start. Maybe it is Bobby Miller, in which case it may be incumbent upon this team to try and put up 6, 7, 8 runs, just because we're not sure what Miller's going to give them and how long he's going to be able to go.
Yeah, so if it is Miller, I think that's very dangerous. I'm hoping that it's Justin Wroblewski and they bring him up, but you have to pull someone down for that. I do want to get back into the Buehler thing that we talked about yesterday, and I got a good amount of I'm crazy talk for talking about whether moving Walker Buehler to DFA him or to put him on the 60-day IL. I think 60-day IL makes the most sense to me, but either way. Am I crazy in my thought process, Marcus? How do you feel about it? Because I don't think he's going to be on the postseason roster. I think it'll be very, very difficult to bring him, give him some kind of massive. You can't give him a big contract. You have to give him a contract that's worth who he is right now. If you do bring him back, they do like reclamation projects, but at the same time, he is a guy that has not pitched well, coming off 2 Tommy John surgeries, has not pitched well since the sticky stuff went away. I don't know if he's ever good. We've talked about it for the entire year. Don't know if he's ever going to be the guy that we thought he was. If that's the case, and he's not going to be on the postseason roster, why do you keep him on the roster?
I mean, I think the reaction to your statement, and then I'll say this, I mean, when you first put it out there, I think I probably had the same internal reaction, because it's like, whoa, wait, what? DFA Walker Buehler? But I also think it's looking at the name on the back of the jersey versus the performance that name has been giving you, right? I mean, yeah, we all remember Walker Buehler's debut, when he first came up, and he was this fireballer, and he really was the heir apparent to Clayton Kershaw at some point. That's not this Walker Buehler. And you're right, through 2 Tommy John surgeries, through the absolute struggles he's had, it is hard to make a case to keep him around on a team that has higher aspirations. So maybe it is. Maybe the 60-day IL is the thing, and you let him sort of try to work out his struggles. But I think the wrinkle is a guy who is also going to need a contract extension at some point too, right? It's unfortunate timing that this is when he is going through this, but it is what it is. And so if you're the Dodgers, you've got, look, I won't say Glass now is a reclamation project, but he is hitting his career high, right, in innings this year. Now you've got Yamamoto coming off surgery. You've got Jack Flaherty, who's had, a history of injury issues. I have seen the Dodgers maybe attached to a guy like Shane Bieber in the offseason, who's another guy who's how many of these guys can you reasonably have and not expect to run into trouble? And so for Buehler right now, he's just in that unfortunate spot, rock in a hard place of having issues at a time when he's trying to also earn a contract to get more money. it's just a tough situation for the Dodgers and for him as well.
Yeah, I think too much that we're looking at the name, like you said, the name on the back of the jersey instead of what you need for this year. And it's exacerbated by the fact that we have so many guys coming back and you need 40-man roster spots. If that wasn't the case, if you could just kind of give him a couple innings, another couple of outings and let him kind of figure it out, it would make sense to me. Let's say you had that 9-game lead that you used to have and everybody was healthy. And so he was just on the roster and was fine. That's a different story than having to bring back at least three guys off the 60-day IL, needing those roster spots, that 40-man roster spot, and a guy that's just not pitching well. I would love to give Walker as much time as humanly possible, but the fact is you need the spots. You need somebody reliable on the mound because of the way that it's all playing out, that you have two teams behind you that are fighting to get to pass you. Very well they could both pass you with the way that their schedule plays out, the way that our schedule plays out, and how difficult this month is for us. I just feel like it's just that he's in a really bad position and somebody else needs to kind of come in. I just don't trust Walker Buehler on the mound to even make that one more start just because the name on the back of his jersey is Walker Buehler and we loved him back in the day.
Yeah, and I think you made a good point too, right? If they were back and holding on to that 9-game lead, maybe it's a different situation. I mean, I was, as you were talking, was going back through the Padres and Diamondbacks. Over their last 22, the Padres are 19-3. Over their last 21, the Diamondbacks are 18-3. I mean, they're playing ridiculous level baseball. I struggle to think they continue to win at that clip over the next 6 weeks. Like at some point, gravity sort of comes back to you a little bit, but that's gone a long way, especially considering the Dodgers have been kind of a 500 club over the last couple of months. That's how you see an 8-game lead shrink down to 2, right? So, yeah, in other situations, Walker Buehler gets the time to sort of work himself out. This, unfortunately, is just not one of those situations.
Right. So that's why it sounds a little bit crazier than it actually is. We'll see what's going to happen with Buehler. I'm sure he will get at least one more start. I just hope that it doesn't mean that somebody else that we aren't thinking about, a reliever or something along those lines, happens to gets DFA'd. They're like a Brent Honeywell who's pitching well. Mm-hmm. Does he get DFA'd because they just want to have that loyalty to Buehler for one more time when we really need as many bullpen arms as possible? I'm just in the mindset of, I want the best guys out there right now because this year is so, so important. And I know they're going to make the playoffs no matter what, but at the same time, having that time off really, really helps. I don't know. That's just the way I see it.
Yeah, no, I mean, and here's the thing. It's a tough situation, and it's a situation that back in April, I don't think any of us ever envisioned, right? We certainly didn't imagine all the injuries that have happened that we're going to pile up across this pitching staff. We definitely would not have imagined that here we are, in the middle of August, and it's a 2-game lead, that it is a legitimate race for the NL West division title. I don't think anybody foresaw that happening. And so now, you're sort of forced to roll with the punches and make some decisions. And now it does really come to, we'll lean and see, how does the front office envision or how do they see these guys? Is it a case of loyalty of hey, Walker Buehler, you have been a part of our plans for so long, we still want to give you that opportunity? Or is it making the tough decision and saying, hey, look, Walker, we love you, we appreciate you, it's just not working right now? I mean, look, we were talking about having the same conversation with Clayton Kershaw, of all people, a few weeks ago, right? I mean, you want to talk about the toughest decision. You're talking about, an all-timer, a Hall of Famer, a Dodger Pantheon legend. And we were talking about, I don't know if there's room on the playoff roster for you right now, right? So, I mean, if we were having that conversation about Clayton Kershaw, I think we can very easily have that conversation about Walker Buehler.
Yeah, 100%. And Clayton Kershaw absolutely deserves as much time as he can possibly get because he's Clayton Kershaw. He's a Hall of Famer. He has been here forever. He's done so much for this franchise. I can understand the loyalty, just like you do when it comes to Kobe Bryant with the Lakers. They gave him a loyalty contract. Obviously, he did what he did. But at the same time, that's Clayton Kershaw. I get it. Walker was great for a very long time, for a good amount of time, was amazing in the playoffs. I trusted nobody more than Walker Buehler on the mound when he was right. Now he hasn't been that for a few years, and I always go back to it. It's the sticky stuff. I just don't know if he was affected by the sticky stuff more than I think anybody else in Major League Baseball. It feels like, and maybe that's just because I watch him all the time and watch the Dodgers more than anybody else, but he was affected by it a lot.
It would be interesting to kind of, by the way, go back and look at how many guys had their careers altered significantly by the sticky stuff going away. Because I'm sure, like, if we actually dug into it, I'm sure it'd be a pretty significant number of pitchers.
Yeah, so many people. It was all about RPMs and how fast they can throw it, like how they get that ball to spin around as much. I believe Walker's was one of the highest, and it's dropped considerably since that. So we'll see what it all works out to. But either way, it's gonna be an interesting weekend. We have a lot to go on this weekend. I really hope that they play well against St. Louis, who is really struggling. The Demons in that ballpark, though, I've seen too many times they go to St. Louis and it all falls apart.
Yeah, it's funny because I remember, was it a few years ago? I think it was it Yasiel Puig who made the comment, like, the Padres aren't a rival, like the Cardinals are a rival, and we're like, I think a lot of us were kind of like, yeah, man, like, that's right.
Yeah.
I know Padre fans were like upset by that, but I think Dodger fans were kind of like, no, man, I think we all generally hate the Cardinals more than we hate the Padres right now, because it just seems like so many unfortunate things have happened at the hands of this team, specifically in Busch Stadium. So yeah, even a Padre team that is slumping right now, I think we all come into this with a little bit of anxiety about what's going to happen this week. And I think that anxiety is certainly compounded by the two teams that are on our tail right now, and the fact that, look, man, the Padres get the Rockies for 3. Like you just don't see any help. It is at Coors Field, but I just don't see any help coming from the Rockies over the next few days. The Diamondbacks go to Tampa and they play the Rays. Like, it's just hard to see the Dodgers getting help from some of these other teams over the next few days.
Yeah, I'm just hopeful that it's because it's at Coors Field and that the Rockies, anything can happen at Coors. No lead is safe at Coors Field. That right. I can just hope that for some reason the Rockies just pull it all together and get some big wins over this weekend. But, I don't really expect it to happen. Who are the Diamondbacks playing this weekend, by the way?
They have the Rays. They're in Tampa.
The Rays. Okay, so that's at least a team that has been good in the past, even though they basically destroyed their whole team.
Their pieces.
Yeah, it's all gone. But I mean, it is a real team that's, no matter what, it kind of feels that way, that they can at least put it together and win a couple games. I don't know. They're so hot right now. I'm really worried about tonight, though. I feel like if Bobby Miller's on the mound, I'm not going to feel safe. But if Justin Robleski is on the mound, I might feel a little bit better. It just depends on who they decide to go, and that will come out, I would say, in the next,
a couple hours.
A couple hours.
Yeah,
it should come out pretty soon.
It's a 5:00 game our time. It's probably going to happen soon. So we'll find out then. Yeah.
And by the way, before Parker, you take it away and get us some Travis and Sliwa, Marcus Grant will be on Mason and Ireland today, so we get a double dose of Marcus Grant today. I'm really excited about that.
Yeah. So everyone, stay in here, stay in the chat, because both Travis and Sliwa will have some great stuff to talk to. But then Marcus Grant, like Greg said, will be in here, and we love having Marcus out here in the studio. I mean, Mason just absolutely gawks over Marcus every time he's in. It's the best. It's the best. So thank you, everyone, for being in the chat. Thank you for being interactive. I know I couldn't get the comments up. I apologize. It wasn't loading for us, but
that's okay.
Next week, we got it going. But for the Blue Review, Ivan Parker Bell alongside Greg Bergman, Marcus Grant, we're going to react to this Cardinals series across social media all weekend. So you can find our socials here down below. And of course, we'll be back Monday, 9:30 to 9:55 as always. Thank you to LAX, and thank you to just everyone. Have a wonderful weekend. Love you all. Let's get out of here. Dun, dun.